Is Oshi no Ko worth watching? I'd heard it was good before I started it, but I was not expecting it to have me on the edge of my seat at the end of every episode. However, it is a very specific kind of story with multiple layers of different kinds of storytelling that may not be for you, or at least might not be what you expect. So I am going to get into its vibe and style to see if it's worth watching for you. Oshi no Ko starts out with an incredible first episode that plays out like a movie with multiple twists and turns that are actually unexpected. If you haven't been spoiled, I highly recommend watching that first episode completely blind. There are some aspects that are kinda weird and goofy, but it's a great setup for the rest of the story. I will try to be vague, but things are going to be spoiled from that episode now. Oshi no Ko does a lot initially. Reincarnation, murder, tons of mysteries, and revenge. But if you go into this expecting Death Note, you will be disappointed. First and foremost, Oshi no Ko is a character-driven drama about dealing with past trauma, navigating showbiz, having dreams, and working hard to make them come true. There is an overarching story about revenge and uncovering mysteries, but they aren't the focus of the average episode, especially in season 1 and 2. The show business, character drama stuff is also really good for the most part. It dives deep into all the aspects of show business, from the value of having talent and connections to rights management. It helps if you care about acting, performing, and production of entertainment, like movies, TV, concerts, YouTube videos, kind of relatable for me, and plays, but regardless, it puts a ton of emphasis on the characters' development, motivations, and emotions that come with these productions. And somehow, even dealing with relatively low-stakes situations, like if a movie will turn out well, almost every single episode ends with some kind of cliffhanger. In this way, it is actually quite a lot like Death Note. With stories like these, there are some moments where it can feel melodramatic, especially when it's about something you don't really care about. But for the most part, everyone's passions, development, and philosophy are really interesting and understandable. It's really easy to buy in and root for them to succeed. Needless to say, the characters are great. Even side characters with relatively low importance have quite a lot going on that makes them feel like real people. And the main characters have a ton of development and fulfill their role in the plot really well, without feeling forced. I didn't love Aqua at first, but as he gets more development, I've really appreciated his character. His trauma that dictates so much of how he lives his life is very well done. It makes his decisions understandable even when it's something very foolish. Ruby is good too, but I wish there was a little more focus on her during the first part of the story. She also has a great character arc that somewhat parallels with Aqua's in an interesting way, but because the story focuses so much more on Aqua's perspective, she feels much more shallow by comparison. The best part of the characters is how well they are developed to show you every side of a situation. So when there is a conflict, it's easy to root for everybody. The drama isn't just a misunderstanding that could be cleared up with one conversation. There's a lot to every situation, from creative differences to panic attacks to complicated romantic situations. I just love almost every character in this show. Now, I've glossed over the revenge conspiracy aspect because over the first 2 seasons, it doesn't really feel like the main part of the show. Instead, it looms over the entire story. As you get more attached to the characters, there's always this feeling of dread. This show deals with death and murder, so there is always a bit of tension about when that aspect will return into these characters' lives. As it nears the end, it obviously becomes a more prominent part of the story, and so far, it's all done very well. Unfortunately, I've also heard the ending is horrible. I haven't read the manga, so I can't comment, but regardless, with how good it's been up to this point, there is not an ending that would make me regret watching it. Despite featuring mostly teenagers, this is a mature show. It's not very graphic and absolutely not gratuitous, but it does deal with some heavy, realistic situations regarding violence and sex. The animation and production is also incredible. This show never looks bad and does some really cool things to showcase the different productions the main characters are involved in. Oshi no Ko is fantastic. It's an S-tier show and it's an 8, although with an asterisk because of the alleged bad ending. Oh, what's this? A review of Sentenced to be a Hero on the end screen? Perhaps you should click on it. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more anime reviews. Ciao meow.